Australian Age of Dinosaurs is, I guess, what it sounds like, a dinosaur museum in the middle of Outback Queensland. And so we're based exactly where we're actually excavating the fossil material. And my job is the long-term conservation of that fossil material, as well as running our digs and running our laboratory and managing our exhibition development facility as well, to make sure that all of that goes nice and smoothly and that all our fossils stay safe and that we can put them on display and have them studied and have them available to the public.
And what's it like being part of a museum out there in Winton? Are you a local?
I'm not a local, I'm a ring-in.
Hmm.
But it's wonderful. I think that in addition to having such a wonderful small museum with such a strong team, you also have the beauty of Outback Queensland, and being able to be part of a small town and a small town community is really, really special. In addition to the community that is the museum itself.
Do you
It's
feel like you
pretty
get a
cool.
lot of support out there from the people of Winton?
Yeah, absolutely. Without Winton, the museum would not have been able to start and become what it is today. So yeah, I think sometimes people make the mistake of thinking that the museum is the reason why Winton is kind of on the map. And while over time, the presence of the museum and dinosaurs in Outback Queensland has absolutely helped with that, the museum wouldn't have been able to become what it is unless Winton was already established as an agricultural and sea transport, between
Yeah.
Isa and Brisbane and all of that.
Yeah. And tell me about your role. What do you do? How did you come into the role there?
Yeah, so I have always loved collection management. I started doing collection management when learning about it when I was 15, volunteering at Queensland Museum under Kristen Spring there. I came out here on an internship in 2022 because I was trying not to be another student with a bachelor's degree that didn't have a job. So I was like, I'll get some more, experience at other institutions. And I was meant to be here for 10 days and then go away to Greece on some field trips. COVID stopped the Greece field trip, and then I decided that I actually didn't want to leave Outback Queensland. So I stayed and took up reception roles and tour guiding roles, and eventually a spot came in the laboratory where I got to I was the laboratory coordinator, so I could oversee the fossil preparation under our curator at the time. And then over time, I just kind of worked my way up into doing what I love, and that is collection management.
Tell me about some of the major outstanding artifacts or fossils in the collection out there.
Yes, so we have the most complete theropod dinosaur from Australia, which is Australovenator wintonensis.
Which is our logo.
Oh, is it? Hell yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
That's sick. So yeah, Banjo is actually just about to undergo, well, it has undergone redescription. That's actually getting revised at the moment, that manuscript. We also we have so much. We have in addition to Banjo, we have 4 other holotypes at the museum.
Hmm.
So we have 2 more sauropod holotypes, which is Diamantinasaurus matildae, which is one of the best understood sauropods globally. Not only do we have most of the skeleton across not just the holotype, but also referred specimens. So from the skull all the way through to caudal vertebrae and the limbs. We also have gut content and fossilized skin, which is terrific. And then we have the holotype specimen for Savannahsaurus eleatorum, which is another sauropod. And then we have Draco-lentini, which is a pterosaur, which at the time of publication was the most complete in Australia at a whopping 11%. Which has now been overtaken by Heliskia petersoni, which is down to a couple of hours north from here in Richmond. And then we have Compractosuchus sauroptonus, which is a lovely little crocodile that has fossilized gut content of one of the only ornithopod remains found from the Winton Formation.
Some sites become known for just one type of creature, but you've got a bit of a spread out there at Winton and at AOD, so that's great.
Yeah, it's incredible, the amount of diversity in just the fossils that are being found out here. And it's not just dinosaurs and it's not just large vertebrates, but we're starting to find more and more microvertebrate remains as well, which is terrific. And as time's gone on, we're getting more people to publish on them and study them. There's so much more to be done at the Winton Formation and within just the fossils that we have in our collection.
What's happening out at the Australian Age of Dinosaurs Museum for Queensland Dino Week?
So we have a couple of events coming on. Most notably is that we have Dr. Dean Lomax coming out to visit us. And he's actually going to do a presentation on impacts of paleotourism from a paleontologist perspective. And that's going to be happening on the 4th of May at about 2 o'clock. And then just some tours around the place and supporting, I guess, our other institutions who are also, partaking in Dino Week and just getting it out to the public and getting people passionate about paleontology. And it's really easy to love paleontology. But I feel that sometimes it's just as easy to think that, everything kind of happens in the background and that there isn't going along. And when we have big events like this, it gives every institution the opportunity to kind of shine a spotlight on itself and be like, look at all the amazing things that we're doing here every day. And there is a future in this. If you have a kid that's really passionate about it, you should support them and get them involved. Even if you're an adult and you're passionate about it, stay involved, stay interested, help where you can, be part of it. Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Is there anything you can give us a preview about what's coming up at Australian Age of Dinosaurs in the next, 6 months, year?
Oh, so much. We have our like standard experiences, I guess, where like we have our Prepper Dino program, which is where, as long as you're over the age of 12 and you can color in between the lines, we're happy to teach you how to prep a fossil. So we have that running year round, and it's honestly just wonderful to have so many people engaged as like citizen scientists in the project. We also have our Digger Dino, which is really similar, where anyone over the age of 18 can pay and join us on our digs and actually be a part of that and help us excavate this wonderful fossil material. We've also started doing shorter workshops, so like 6-day paleo workshops where it's not just prepping. We're also doing a lot more sieving and sorting and like throwing a little bit of collection management in there, because I think the one thing that we're really passionate about is citizen science, and not just citizen science in the sense of like people helping contribute to our projects, but also giving back. Like there are so many people out there that are super passionate about fossils and have their own collections. How can you better look after those fossils? Are you writing down the provenance of where you find them? Making sure that people understand like the best way to preserve the significance of these specimens long term. Because not everyone is going to donate a fossil, that's just the reality. And then on top of that, we've also started doing, what should we call it? Like Ask an Expert sessions, which I've been hosting, and just trying to get more information out there, not just about, we just did one about, paleontology as a career, but also we're going to do ones about how paleontologists actually understand the past. So like how we rebuilding ecosystems, how we're going out into the field and how we're actually identifying fossils. Just little things like that to kind of share this information and kind of demystify the processes a little bit. It's really easy sometimes to look back and see like all the stuff that a paleontologist publishes and you're like, well, how did they get from like A to B? Especially if you're not used to reading scientific literature. So being able to like sit with people that are interested, it's like, yeah, so this is how we do it. It kind of puts a little bit more faith into the scientific method that we use in paleontology.
Yeah, which is, really important nowadays in this age of kind of disinformation that we're living in.
Yeah. The amount of times we've had people be like, like the fossils out there, they're not real, like they're just concrete. And we have a really lovely exhibition in one of the areas of the museum that are replicas of real fossils made out of concrete. And you see the like screenshot of David Elliott like doing those concrete replicas, and then people post it as like proof that they're fake. And you're like, no.
Like, no, we have both.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, so like those like fake fossils are actually based off the real ones. Here it is. But no, just I think it helps to demystify a bit.
Something else I love about Australian Age of Dinosaurs is often with a museum, the thing is what's in the museum itself, right? What's inside the building. But I think there's a nice relationship out there with the landscape and other aspects of what's happening out there. You have a walk that goes down through, is it a little valley or a gully with some ancient cycads and things as well?
Yeah, so we have the Deep Gully Walk, which is like sort of natural. And then we have the Dinosaur Canyon Walk as well, which is where it's like the Cretaceous garden section, which is, we're growing cycads. The plan there is essentially to try and recreate what the Cretaceous ecosystem would have looked like here 95 million years ago, which is actually doing pretty well for now, which is wonderful. But yeah, I think the environment out here is so beautiful, and it's probably one of the best assets the museum has, is not like the natural environment where the museum based, and is also making sure that the museum doesn't, I guess, like outshine it, that it's a part of it. That's really, really important to the vision of the museum and the future of the museum, and sharing that with people.
Yeah. I also love the links between space and dinosaurs, which I think are there a lot, but some people don't always recognize. And you have astronomy and dark sky activities out there too.
We're one of Queensland's first international dark sky sanctuaries. And I think that got named in 2019. Which is absolutely wonderful. And we have our Gondwana Stars Observatory. And I think an important part of that is, you don't just have this observatory where you have like astronomy separate to paleo. The way that that's run and the way that we engage public with it is making sure that we link astronomy and observation to Australia's natural history. And I think that kind of helps people understand like the sky a little bit more in that sense. And so it's not so like, I know that I struggle with astronomy too, as much just like numbers, and you're like this star, which is like all of these numbers, and you're like, great. Instead of being like, oh, like this is what this constellation is called. But, if we went back 50 million years, this wouldn't have been there. If we went back 90 million years, this different constellation would have been there. Like this is what the sky would have looked like. which is pretty cool. And we're actually going to start expanding on that as well this year. So Winton itself has actually become a dark sky community, which is wonderful. So yeah, if anyone does come out to Winton, you just walk around at night, and even though you've got street lights, you can still see the sky full of stars. It's beautiful. And we're also going to start offering light and shadows kind of show in the evenings to sort of enhance on our Dinosaur Canyon walk, enhance on the darkness, and kind of make it a more like a, not quite a 4D experience, but much more immersive, to kind of bring people back 95 million years ago and recreate that in the environments that we have.
If somebody is thinking about getting out there to Winton to visit the Australian Age of Dinosaurs, what can they expect? What should they do? What's the must? And what do they need to consider before they jump on a plane or drive?
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing is just getting to Winton. I think that's if you don't want to drive, which a lot of people don't, Winton has an airport. So there's flights in. And then we have a tour company in town called Red Dirt Tours, who you book on with them and they will actually drive you around, which makes everything super easy. There's also buses from Longreach into Winton, which just makes everything great. You come up to the museum, we've got our 3 tours. So we actually take you around our laboratory, which is where all of our preparation happens. And you can actually talk to our fossil technicians who are predominantly prepodino participants and volunteers, and actually talk to them about what they're doing, and we can show you the preparation process. We have our collection room tour, which is where we store our holotypes. So we're a very unique museum in that we actually have our holotypes available for public viewing. They're in a lovely temperature, humidity, dust control room, and it's safe enough for the public to see them. We keep a nice close eye on them. That's where you get to see Banjo, Australovenator. That's where we have matildae and Wade as well, and some really other important sauropod skull material. And our final tour is the March of Titanosaurs and Dinosaur Canyons. So March of Titanosaurs is a 53-meter long tracksite that we actually relocated up here to the museum in order to keep it safe, because it just would have been destroyed by the creek that exposed it. And that has sauropod, ornithopod, theropod, turtle, crocodile footprints, as well as some lungfish feeding traces, evidence of plants. It's unique for Australia. So we have a lovely little tour of that. And then the Dinosaur Canyon Walk, which is life-size bronze statues of dinosaurs all the way down to the dinosaurs that we find out here in this area, along with the Cretaceous gardens, those cycads, pines, ferns, things like that. And just absolutely breathtaking views of sort of, I guess, what is the natural heritage out here in the environment. That is just, you have these big jump ups, but it's flat outside of that, which is absolutely beautiful. Jump on a dark sky tour at night with GSO, come up, get to see, completely just dark skies. I think a lot of people sometimes forget just how many stars there are. And so when you come out to a place like this, you can actually look at the night sky without the light pollution. It's very, very impactful. It's something that you never kind of forget.
Fossils.
Fossils.
Fossils and fiction.
Fiction.